Top 9 horror movies that have action stars in lead. Action heroes are figures that are largely stereotyped in their movies. Although the central draw is the monster, murderer, or mysterious thing lurking in the shadows in most horror movies, there is often no one to save the relentless victims from them. It just so happens there are a handful of movies that witness heroes that usually play the lead in action films, lending their support, expertise, and saving everyone from these ghosts. This video will highlight a group of actors commonly seen in action films, who have also acted in horror movies.
Before we go into our list, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click from you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Let's begin.
You can't run away now!
Stop it!
Let her go!
No!
Arnold Schwarzenegger. End of Days. On December 28, 1999, the citizens of New York City are getting ready for the turn of the millennium. In an unexpected whirl of events, the devil decides to crash the party by coming to the city and inhabiting another human's body. While searching for a bride, he comes across a 20-year-old woman named Christine York. If he bears her children between 11 p.m. and midnight on New Year's Eve, the world will come to an end. Jericho Kane is an atheist cop who no longer believes in God due to the murder of his wife and daughter. He is everyone's only hope. Can he save them? Peter Hyams directed this 1999 supernatural action thriller. Although it is of a particular category that is vulnerable to logic, it has fun trying to explain its satanic timetable. The movie involves a head-on collision between ludicrous and the supernatural. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who most people are used to seeing kicking ass with his macho demeanor in action movies, faces a particularly theological struggle while protecting a young girl from the devil. Nevertheless, involving him means someone has to be dangling from a helicopter or clinging to a window ledge by his fingertips. End of Days is a tasteful blend of 80s action thriller and religious horror that sees the poignant side of Arnold Schwarzenegger's acting. His role shifts here quite a bit because he is initially shown to be an emotional wreck and later in the movie is in a church with a gun. It crams cliches from both the genres, therefore viewers still see him in action as if he's fighting a generic scumbag from an action flick, and they are given a glimpse of the events unfolding down in the Vatican. Schwarzenegger assumes the cruciform position as he modestly tackles the role of Jericho Kane in this pro-religious film. It is a nice touch that gives him a subtle character flourish and dynamism. Sylvester Stallone. I See You. FBI agent Jake Malloy cannot catch a serial killer who has been targeting cops for years. The killer, who has already killed 9 cops, holds a personal grudge against Malloy for pursuing him 4 years before during a string of prostitute murders. He finally breaks Malloy by killing his fiancée and one of his friends on the force. This causes him to go off the deep end and drown his sorrows in alcohol until Detective Hendricks, his colleague, signs him up to a remote detox clinic specializing in curing alcoholic cops. The killer murders another patient in the facility and steals his identity. Soon he begins killing the other patients as Malloy is participating in group therapy. This psychological thriller, originally known as Detox, was directed by Jim Gillespie and released in 2002. Over the years, viewers have witnessed several of Stallone's accomplishments. His multiple Oscar nominations for a franchise he created himself and his direction of Saturday Night Fever's sequel are only a few of his accolades. However, this is the only horror movie he has starred in. I See You is filled with recognizable and incredibly talented actors who are all thrown together in a horrifying peril. Although the concept isn't exactly brilliant, it is an enjoyable high-concept movie. It squanders a good set of laughable details and reasonable dialogue. What's more, you get several glimpses of Sylvester Stallone getting to romance Dina Meyer with some of the cheesiest one-liners you will ever hear. The movie completely squanders the obvious appeal of seeing a very impressive ensemble cast get together. Since Gillespie was just coming off his blockbuster success from I Know What You Did Last Summer, He chose to treat this film more like a serious, dramatic thriller rather than a schlocky slasher with a sense of humor. It has its fair share of corny material that viewers just can't take seriously, and paints Sylvester Stallone in an entirely new light from his Rambo days. Steven Seagal, Against the Dark. Most of Earth's population is infected with a virus that transforms them into flesh eaters that drink blood. A group of hunters led by Tao chase these vampire zombies to eliminate them. 6 non-infected survivors try to find the exit at an abandoned hospital crowded with the infected creatures. Tao and his group help them while the military command decides to bomb the area and wipe its trace from the map. This 2009 action horror film directed by Rutger showcases Steven Seagal in a new and different setting from where viewers usually find him. Over the past few years, he has gained a reputation for being the spawn of 80s action stars. Although he still has the occasional cool move, this is a truly impressive feat for the squinty-eyed action star. Dropping him into a horror movie was an inspired idea, since viewers thoroughly enjoyed the shift in seeing the Aikido master playing a sword-wielding vampire hunter with an attitude. Although the result was an extraordinary average B movie, he still gives it his all, with his slick black hair, an expressionless mug, and monotonous delivery that he has always had. It is accompanied by the creative melding of the zombie and overplayed vampire genres. Although its premise proves rather poignant, it has a handful of impressive qualities worth enjoying in good spirit. Rutger Hauer, The Hitcher. A young man named Jim Halsey is delivering a car from Chicago to San Diego. He is stalked along the way by a cunning and relentless serial killer who eventually frames him for a string of murders. Jim is soon chased by the police and shadowed by the killer. His only hope is a truck stop waitress. The Hitcher is a classic favorite directed by Robert Harmon, starring everyone's favorite Rutger Hauer. With the help of its sounds, the movie conveys to the audience that the killer and the protagonist have developed some kind of deep bond via their shared experiences. The film certainly owes a thing or two to Steven Spielberg's Duel. Its primary focus is the mysterious antagonism that develops between 2 strangers who meet on the highway. Harmon is after spine-tingling suspense that can only be achieved through his direction and Eric Reed's screenplay combined. The movie grants Rutger Hauer's character almost supernatural powers. Although that makes it slightly lesser on the realistic side, it makes it more intriguing, and viewers envision it as an allegory rather than a documentary. The real relationship between the two is often masked by its disguise as a violent thriller. Nevertheless, Hauer's charismatic, evil flamboyance gives it a twist no one sees coming. Furthermore, with this film, his feature debut, he displays a surer hand for action rather than character.
Now I want all of it.
Bruce Willis, Planet Terror. After an experimental bio-nerve gas is accidentally released at a remote U.S. military base in Texas, those exposed to the gas turn into flesh-eating, mutating zombies that are out to kill. An assortment of people, including a stripper named Cherry, her shady mechanic ex-boyfriend Ray, a strong-willed doctor, a local sheriff, and a few other people must join forces to survive through the night. Meanwhile, the zombies threaten to take over not just the whole town, but the whole world. Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino's 2007 horror comedy simultaneously occupies several spaces. It is a horror film about encroaching zombies, a sci-fi about experimental gas, an over-the-top black comedy, and a splatterfest drive-in flick. The way in which Rodriguez tastefully blends all of these together is an evidence of his talent as a director and applause to the actors for playing their parts. Planet Terror is not necessarily a film that is the product of a brilliant director's vision, but rather an enthusiastic stylist whose aesthetics sometimes pushes him to the most absurdist treatment of his subjects that make them brilliant. The film has a kick-ass opening sequence with Rose McGowan playing the protagonist and instantly charming the audience. Overall, it is a widely uneven horror comedy that starts tight and sways viewers with its ramshackle and chaos. Jason Statham, Ghosts of Mars. In 2176, a Martian police unit is dispatched to transport a dangerous prisoner from a mining outpost to justice. However, when the team arrives, they find that the town is deserted and former occupants have possessed some of its inhabitants. John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars is a space opera that transplants the conventions of Western, cop, and martial arts films to the Red Planet. Viewers often consider it an unlikely mix between The Thing and Assault on Precinct 13, two of his brilliant classics. As groups of zombified killers attack the heroes, a set of thrilling action scenes unfold. Although the movie contains several basic sci-fi concepts, Carpenter adds his own pacing and style that makes the film watchable every time. The well-choreographed action sequences are made atmospheric by the rusty red color spread everywhere. This criminally underrated B-movie portrays a matriarchal society on the planet. Although Jason Statham, in an unlikely role, displays a good deal of machismo, Natasha Henstridge, as Lieutenant Melanie Ballard, is still the one in charge. The entire movie is filled with dissolves rather than clear-cut edits and takes place in flashback. The best part of Carpenter's direction style that makes it almost charming is that he is less concerned about providing audience with their weekly fix of new screen effects. Instead, he prefers his space adventure on the funky side, even if it gets slightly ridiculous.
Police, step onto the light.
Leave now, and I'll let you live.
Chuck Norris, Hellbound. Two Chicago police officers, Shatter and Jackson, are investigating the brutal murder of a rabbi. When they are summoned to Israel for questioning, they continue investigating some leads that they find. Soon they realize they might be investigating something far beyond their capability. This is a supernatural thriller directed by Aaron Norris. Chuck Norris is known for the silent rage that he unleashes in this film. Besides his incredible performance, the movie contains some enticing action sequences that only he can execute flawlessly. Viewers' popular opinion entails that it isn't a horror film but rather an action movie with a supernatural mix. It displays flawless direction with well-choreographed martial arts sequences between Norris and Satan's emissary. Its breathtaking Israeli setting sways viewers even on a low budget. Its basic outline contains a spooky, eerie vibe. The characters all have good chemistry with one another, and it's certainly entertaining to watch the all-fighting macho man Chuck Norris in a supernatural film. Dolph Lundgren, I Come in Peace, 1990. Jack Kane, a renegade Houston vice cop, is determined to stop the largest drug trade and its supplier, Victor Manning. When things go sideways with him and his partner, he is appointed to work with FBI agent Lawrence Smith, and the two begin following a trail of mysterious deaths. Soon they find out that they might be dealing with something far beyond their pay grade. I Come in Peace is an American sci-fi action film. It is every action lover's dream come true. If you're a fan of Dolph Lundgren, it is a movie where he shines with his bright solo work. Until this point, he had only been in serious and stern action flicks. This was a refreshingly lucid yet enjoyable change. Although it is surprisingly low-key for an action film, you can't help but appreciate the sci-fi elements which sneak up on the viewers. At first, the cop and FBI agent appear to be at crossroads with each other, but are later revealed to be imperative in each other's character development. Most viewers found a difference between this and usual 80s and 90s B-flicks because this had no signs of being pretentious in its execution and is entirely self-aware of its low-budget status.
Back to finish you off.
Get out of my way, you freak!
Wesley Snipes, Blade. In a world where vampires walk on Earth, Blade has a goal. It is to rid the world of all evil vampires. When he witnesses one biting Dr. Karen Jensen, he fights the beast and takes her back to his hideout. Here, along with Abraham Whistler, he attempts to help heal Karen. The vampire Quinn, who Blade attacked, reports back to his master Deacon Frost. He is planning a huge surprise for the human population. When too many movies are built from TV-style visuals of people standing around, movies that are based on comic books represent the last hopes for visionary filmmaking. Blade, starring Wesley Snipes as a vampire killer, is a movie that relishes high visual style. It uses extreme camera angles, bizarre costumes, and sets. It also includes the exaggerated shadows, the confident cutting between shots, and the extreme close-ups. It slams ahead in pure visceral imagery. Like several comic myths, the story involves ordinary people who are connected through a superhero to an occult universe lurking beneath reality. It includes a series of major action sequences. Stephen Norrington's direction also combines comic book imagery, the noir universe, and the visual heritage of German Expressionism. The material is practically a masterpiece in the direction of pure animation. Wesley Snipes plays his character like he understands him inside and out and makes an effective hero. He understands that the key ingredient in any interesting superhero is not omnipotence, but vulnerability. If you guys enjoyed this video, give us a like, subscribe, and press that bell icon that will help you get notifications. We upload an awesome video every day. Have an amazing day ahead and stay safe.
Yeah!